Welcome to another episode of No Longer Black in Silence. I'm your host, Lion Talk P.
And I'm your co-host, Shadana Cheney.
On today's episode, we have a young lady with us who's a special guest, also a friend of the show. How you doing, Miss Lindsay?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Good. It's good to see you. Looking pretty.
You see she over there smiling, huh?
Got
I'm
her
always
sexy
smiling.
skirt on.
Skin all radiant, you know.
Yeah.
What you putting on your
Glowing.
skin?
That's shea butter and
That's that
melanin
shea
and
butter?
a little sunlight.
And a little sun. So two of those things you probably can't really replace for people, right? Like you can buy one.
Yeah, just one of them.
Just one of them. And so you can buy one of three. The other two you just gotta.
And genetics, that too. You know.
Ah.
You can't buy that.
That sounds like a very, you know what I'm saying, hierarchy of thought. You know?
Well,
Like we pretty for a reason.
and
that
parents
melanin in her
Yeah,
skin.
parents got good skin.
Her hair is natural.
Yeah, I
pretty.
take care of it, you know.
Let's get into this, man. Where are you from?
I'm from Houston, Texas, 3rd Ward.
Third Ward.
That's right, the tray.
The Tray. Do your parents currently still reside in
They
Third
do.
Ward? Oh, okay. So what, like, part of Third Ward did you
The
grow up
bottom.
in? Like, help us out. Like, give us a street, like a predominant street in that area.
Cullen.
Cullen?
Cullen, Sky. The bottom is basically the side of 3rd Ward that's going toward 45.
The place that hasn't been gentrified yet.
No, it's being gentrified.
It's being gentrified?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so it's like Southmore and stuff, Third Ward?
Yeah, Sophomore is 3rd Ward.
Because I'm familiar with, like, the nightlife on Southmore.
Yes, I mean 3rd Ward is a really, really big neighborhood. It's all the way from literally from 45 to Alameda, which is on the other side of 288.
288, right.
So it's actually a really big neighborhood, and it's like neighborhoods within it. Like where I'm from is the bottom. Then you have, you know, the area over there by Sophomore. You have McGregor area. So it's really big.
I got you.
Yeah.
So
I rep it all.
You rep it all. Third Ward, Houston, Texas. You grew up like in a home with both parents.
Both parents, my grandmother, my sister.
And your sister.
Now, would you say Third Ward is a predominantly black area? What's the
Yeah,
demographics?
I mean, it's definitely being gentrified. There are a lot of other people moving into the area, especially with U of H, a major institution being right there.
Right.
It's, you know how gentrification works. I don't want to have to
Right.
basically explain that, but you know, you have other people moving in there, but pretty much most of the neighborhood,
It's a
most of the
slow,
neighborhood is still black.
It is a slow economic leverage takeover.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, there are definitely. Sometimes I'm driving and I see a white person with a dog, and I'm like, where you
Right,
going?
right.
Yeah, walking
Running
their dog.
outside or something.
I mean, that's one of the telltale signs of gentrification, when you feel comfortable enough to walk around in a black
Right.
neighborhood with your dog,
yeah.
or without it.
Or are you mindful that now because you're here, the police presence is a little more.
Yeah,
You know,
and you even see them putting bike lanes in the street,
Yeah.
whereas they didn't even have that before.
They
Right. Right.
And you see them building a curb because they didn't have that before either. There was no
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Sidewalk, right?
Yeah, and most black neighborhoods didn't have sidewalks, especially not 3rd Ward.
So how do you feel as a local Houstonian, like watching this occur?
You know, I feel like gentrification happens in all the major cities globally. I think being a part of 3rd Ward and being so passionate about where I'm from and loving the neighborhood, it is kind of frustrating to see it. But I definitely think that black people have to make their presence known at these places instead of hiding. Because I notice I hear people saying, oh, well, you know, all those white people go there now. It's a place in particular that I kind of have feelings about. And it's really popular. And it's when you go there, it's full of white people. You can drive down the street and see it. But it's like, this is in our neighborhood. We need to make ourselves known because you're in our neighborhood. So I'm going to attend this place rather than stepping away as if they're taking it over. Like, I'm not
Right.
going to give you that control. I think gentrification is basically colonization.
It's
It's just in the urban setting.
right. It's the way
Yeah.
you infiltrate something without causing conflict.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just
Well-
gonna leverage my economics to buy this initially.
Well, what
buy
happens
that.
is, so here's how people get caught up, because gentrification starts with the hippies and the hipsters and the
Right.
artists, right? And so people are usually more inclined to be more open with those type of white people, but they don't realize that once you get them in, then you get
Everyone
the business
else.
people and you get
Yeah.
the families, because eventually they're going to settle down.
Right.
And then we have these white teachers working at black schools. Then the teachers want to live near the school, have their families, and that's how you gentrify everything.
Right.
So it's like, you know, I'm not going to tell somebody they can't come into my neighborhood, but I feel like if you come into 3rd Ward, you need to be about 3rd Ward. Don't come in
Yeah.
there trying to change it. So
Yeah.
So would you say that more, you know, blacks would probably have to do a better job of maybe purchasing homes and land in 3rd Ward and make a stand in 3rd Ward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I met a lot of people who aren't from here and who are trying to live in 3rd Ward. A lot of black people, black young people who just graduated or who are young professionals, and they're drawn to 3rd Ward. 3rd Ward is like Houston's Harlem.
Yeah.
And so I think that
I want to open a shop in 3rd Ward.
seriously, opening your business.
Yeah.
I mean, Dowling, my grandfather used to have a business on Dowling Street. I mean, it was booming
So you
with
gonna
black
help me
businesses.
find a retail location?
I can see what I can do. My dad is a real estate broker. We can try to put something. But
look, she gonna quote me. You know, she good
I'm
for
gonna
that.
quote you. You gotta. Hey, your black business can't mess up my black business. A black business has gotta work. You know, we gotta be mutually beneficial.
Yeah, and I was gonna say one thing about gentrification. Like Malcolm X is one of my favorite black history leaders.
Yeah.
And he said, a lot of time foreigners come into black neighborhoods, like Indians, Middle Eastern, all these people. And he said they put liquor stores, they put all of these restaurants. He said they suck so much out the community, but they never put anything in.
Yeah.
They don't live in our neighborhoods. Their kids don't go to
neighborhoods.
school with our kids. So that's like so important to me. I always think about that.
We are financing everyone else's life.
Exactly, except our own. And I think somebody had mentioned something earlier about supporting black-owned businesses. And it's like, yeah, you do have to be mindful of what those black-owned businesses are doing with their money and how they're giving back to the community. But in the end, if I see an Asian-owned or a non-black-owned business in my neighborhood, I'm not going to support it. And I wasn't always that way. If I absolutely have to go to a Target or somewhere else, I will. But primarily, I try to focus on black-owned businesses, especially in my neighborhood, because I know how they treat our people.
Right.
I've been accused of stealing nail polish with my nails fully done in a Asian-owned business at a beauty supply store. You know, and I'm like, I don't deserve this treatment.
I personally, I think because they feel the convenience and nothing else is around there, you normally are treated a little harsher. Like there isn't customer service standards
at all
in those local foreign-owned places. And it's like even when you walk in, they don't say nothing to you, but they want your money.
Exactly, and that's on our part. We have to demand that. And as I got older and I became a little bit more educated, I stopped shopping with a lot of people because I say, if you don't speak to me, my money not gonna go to you.
I'm dangerous because I'll tell them, and I've had
that's
to
a
back
problem
off of
for
it.
me.
I've gotten to it with one or two inside of their businesses. And I'm like, I'm not going to argue with you, but what I will tell you, your day is coming where y'all will no longer occupy our neighborhoods.
It's going to come.
And they look at me, and I'm very serious about this idea. I don't care what anybody else feel. Things been a certain way for a long time.
Who cares?
I don't care about.
Things are not going to always be the
There's
same.
coming a time where you're not going to no longer occupy our neighborhoods because you cannot come in here and financially benefit from our existence and then treat us like second-class citizens. Like, I'm not having it.
And you know what's so crazy? That tape that just came out
about them beating
with the beauty store. Asian man
and a wife
was harassing a young black girl, accusing her of stealing, and they was fighting the girl.
No, they was choking her, strangling that
and
girl.
And if they wouldn't have had a
ground.
camera, it would have been her word against theirs, and of course they would have won.
I'm forget the camera. If I'm present and I see somebody who looks like my mother,
you step in
sister,
and you
intervene. But what if you don't have those
mother,
people that's gonna step in and take up for her?
No, I definitely so.
I'm gonna be that person.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, we have a responsibility outside of the camera, and we've gotten to the point where we allow ourselves to record something and become lazy in the prosecution.
We become bystanders.
Right, bystanders in real. So you basically become an accessory to a crime.
Right.
Because you're watching someone be physically assaulted and no one is doing anything outside of recording this and damn, this is messed up.
And I said this too because I don't expect everybody to be courageous. I know I'm courageous. I know everybody who knows me, they call me Sister Justice. Because if I see it's wrong, I'm calling it out.
Definitely.
It's going to happen. But I know everybody's not on that level. But at the same time, at what point do we realize that you have to sometimes be on that level to benefit our communities? Like if I see somebody being strangled, we all gonna be fighting.
Oh, definitely.
I'm not gonna sit there and record because what you recording for it to go where, and you think they're gonna prosecute that?
I don't have to know you to take a assault charge for whooping somebody's ass for mistreating you. And the reason why I say that is because until the women in our community feel safe and protected, these are the mothers, these are the caregivers, and until y'all feel protected, it's hard to build and sustain anything. Community.
I agree with that, but I also feel like we still need the cameras
because
you can have people testifying it, but it's always their word against ours.
That's true.
And it's always a reason not to come to our
I'm not knocking the cameras,
but I feel like people are starting to hide behind the camera, and I think that's where the problem is. Because like my thing, so even if you do record it, we know a lot of times when you have these body cams and these cameras and people see all the evidence, they see all the videos, and the court case still doesn't go in our favor, even though they know it's wrong. So yes, the cameras are true. They're helpful, but at the same time, you can't depend on a camera to get you out of that situation that you shouldn't have been in the first place. But I guarantee you, if somebody was physically stepped in and pulled this man up off of her,
I'm cool
that
with the camera.
That's what
I'm cool with the camera, but the camera gonna catch me physically. You know what I'm saying?
It has to be both. It's just like you gotta have both. You gotta have the M.P.A. and you gotta have the Martin Luther King.
And the sad part about this, and the reason why I have such an issue with it, before we kind of get back to her interviewing story, the day that we watch other males of any ethnic group, even black, physically assault black women without any regard, like they don't even think about like it, like almost like no regard for her life and humanity, like then we have a real problem. That people think they could just treat black people and dispose of them in any manner. We have a different type of problem going on. At this point, we're on the brink of extermination, because anytime somebody has it in their head, like if he's the Asian man looking at the situation play out and he think he could just put his hands in harm a woman just because she's black and nobody would care, we have a larger problem on our hands. We have they don't regard our existence.
But another thing is we need black men to step up for us. And that's the thing.
Black
men do not always step up for black women.
Do.
And you have to agree with that.
Because
I see black men disrespect black women more than any other race.
Every rap song, social media, in the club.
We're going to get back to her interview. I agree with
Can I add one thing?
Go ahead.
Because that's absolutely true. And this is like my biggest thing right now. I'm all for black women. I'm for black men, but I'm all for black women right now, because I remember there was something trending not too long ago, and it was like, black man, I support you. It was a meme. It was just that. I wish I would have seen a black woman, I support you, somewhere on my timeline, somewhere. And not to say that it doesn't exist, because I have a great black father, and I grew up with him. He is my blood father. My parents have been married for over 30 years, so I get that. But black men have got to step up.
Let me classify something.
And one more thing. Black men have got to step up. I'm calling y'all to action. Secondly, there's an overarching issue of domestic violence with that issue. I mean, that man, that was a woman. Take out the race. He had no right to put his hand on a woman
But what I'm saying is, if she was of another racial origin, do you think he would have felt
and you know what?
the same?
I don't know.
Definitely wouldn't have did that to a white woman.
An
He
Asian
probably
woman,
wouldn't. Yeah,
right?
but
I'm just saying, like, when you remove someone's humanity
I'm not disagreeing
from
with you.
them,
I agree.
gender no longer matters.
Well, black,
you kind of get me. They just
black
see
women. Black women. We're not black and then woman. We're black women together collectively. So we experience things as black women collectively. So I get that. I'm just saying, nobody even brought up the fact that was a man. I mean, this is a racist act, but this is a man hitting a woman.
And to think about it, we just come out the women's march. We just come out the women's march of standing up for women.
There's two things I want to address.
None of those women came forward.
We got to get back
all
to
of these people.
First thing,
March was like, when did they have the women's march?
But no people came forward.
What I'm saying is we just had the women's march.
Well, let me address something concerning the women's march. And this is something that
in Washington,
I want to hold black women to. Because I have two things to speak on about. Hold on. Because y'all kind of got me with the whole black man thing. Y'all kind of threw me for a loop.
Oh, but baby, it's
but the thing about the women's march is this. Black women have to stop being pawns in a larger game. When you talk about women's rights and women's suffrage in this country, those rights were not pertaining to black women, because black women were already working. Black women were not seen as a trophy model to keep in the home and not be bothered. These people were already a part of the working class. They were already raising even their children, you know what I mean, like of these other groups. So they utilized the black woman for numbers. But when the rights trickle down, she still get left, without. But I wanted to address something about the black man concept.
Can I respond to that?
You can, but the black man concept.
I got it.
No black man, and I mean this in my heart, no black man would ever sit around and allow that to happen. See, I'm one of the thoughts who believes. No, this is my thing. I'm one of the thoughts who believe this. Male and female, those are concepts of gender roles, right? Like that's what people determine in their head how you should kind of behave and look, or as a person. They're kind of like gender roles. You know what I mean?
I mean, male and female is biological.
It's biological, but I'm talking about as far as the concept people think they inherit, like being that or the other. The reason why I say no black man will ever allow it, I don't consider anybody who will stand by and allow it as a black man. I'm different, because I can't allow you to stand by me and have the same terminology used to predict and subscribe to, and we're not the same in that manner. Like, so for me, that's I always told people, no nigga will ever be called a man, no man would ever be called a nigger. There's a greater essence to that. You know what I mean? So those who would allow it to happen, it's not necessarily because black men, those people cannot be regarded as that. And I think once we start separating, discerning between the two, we can make it seem like you almost have to get your manhood back by being an upstanding male. You know what I mean? But as long as we group everybody together, that guy gets to live on my merit and
so,
I ain't nothing like him. You know
you're
what I
talking
mean?
about black male versus black man, basically.
Because we have a responsibility. You feel me? And that's the crazy thing about
but
all
how
this.
many black men do we really have if that's the case?
We have the one who just walked out here and did an interview.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I feel where you're coming from, because obviously I can say that's not a real man.
My whole team.
Okay, but that's you, and that's the people you surround yourself with, so that's great. But when we're talking about levels and the masses, how many of these people actually fit into this category in which you describe? That's my issue.
It's not a lot.
It's not, but that's the thing. It isn't, but it used to be. And so my thing is, we have to figure out how to get.
Something's been lost.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we don't have rites of passage. I mean, if you go to Africa, any country there, any ethnic group, even here, there was some sort of rites of passage. Somebody trained you in how to be a man. Yeah. And so when you don't have,
but another man would have to be present to help you
if you don't, exactly. So if you don't have a father, if you don't have a male role model that's in your life, you don't have that. So obviously that's part of the issue. But I got to go back to your thing about the women's issue. Yeah. So I'm a proponent of black feminist thought. I don't subscribe to a feminist overarching thing. I think there's a new age or new wave feminism that's different. But yes, absolutely. I mean, that's why Sojourner Truth said, "Ain't I a woman?" So we know that all these things didn't really pertain to black women. But at the same time, there is still this element that is missing, where a lot of times the things that are done to black women wrong are done by black men. Definitely. And I think a lot of times, because black men like to say, "Oh, well, you know, that feminism ain't really for y'all," and all these things, which is in a lot of cases is true. At the same time, we have crafted our own that's been studied for decades, but those things are still an issue. The fact that I have to turn on a song and hear the word bitch being thrown around. And yes, I still do want to shake my behind to it, because I like to twerk, and that's fine. But why do I have to hear that? Why do I have to see all the disrespect on social media, the disrespect in the club, and even the disrespect in relationships? Almost every woman a black woman who's been done wrong has been done wrong by a black man. No, I'm not asking you to be perfect. No, yes, I'm going to give you grace, but I think there's something that black people internally have to address and stop giving black men passes for.
Oh, I would definitely. I don't give any passes. I think anybody who knows me, when it comes, this is the way I look at it, and I firmly believe in Yeshua Christ, right? I was born Baptist. I was born a Christian. Like, I subscribe to the old orthodox doctrine of Christianity. Like, Ethiopia had the first church on earth and all of that. But the closest resemblance to God on earth is a woman, and it's the black woman. And what I mean by this, and this is the reason why our community is so chaotic. The woman is the closest thing to God, because who is God? God brings forth life. That's what a woman does. Right. So until we can learn how to honor those who bring forth life, our community will never heal itself. Right. Because you need harmony. And the only way to have harmony is that the person who's generating this life feels secure. Right. They feel safe. And they are manifesting the things that are inside of them, because that's the only way to inspire a man to be a man. Because a man needs something to live for outside of himself. He needs something to protect. Until a man submits himself to something greater than himself, he'll never commit himself to you. I always tell my sister that. Until you find a man who's committed to something outside of himself, he will never commit to you, because commitment is a habit. So women have a role in this to understand that if you raise the standard, because you hold the power, you have something between your legs that a nigga they fought wars over. They fought wars over what's between y'all legs. So is the onus on the black man to grow up, or for the woman to raise the standard and force him to meet her where like she is? Because we can keep saying what a black man should or shouldn't do, but as long as a woman is tolerating certain behavior, it's hard to redirect that behavior.
I think it's a combination, because
it is.
Yeah, it's definitely a combination. First of all, a black man don't have to date a black woman. So no matter if I have my standards high, he can move around and go find him somebody else. Yeah. So I think we have to hold our standards. We have to raise our standards, but I think it's a collective, comprehensive approach. It can't be just one thing. You know, I think a lot of times women obviously don't have the standards that they should, or they put up with what they feel like, what they probably shouldn't put up with, because they feel like they have to. And that's how we know that there's sexism within the black community, because we as black women feel like we have to do things to subscribe to all these things within the sexism of our communities. We feel like we have to do this, we have to do that, we have to do this to get the black man, or to keep him. And so I think that it's fair to be, oh, well, you can it's kind of unfair to be like, oh yeah, we can hold them to a standard. But then it's like, we as black women have these other things that we really feel like we can't do
But
because
if the
of
woman
the
acknowledge-
fact that there's this system.
if the woman acknowledge that she's the source and that you have to come to the source for all life to be had, I think it'll shift. Like, it'll call a metaphysical shift. Like, everybody, I want to say this, and I want to preference my statements. Everybody not coming. I've been saying this since I was 19.
Harriet Tubman used to lead people. If you
That's
ain't
what
coming, you're going to stay back there.
And that's the first thing we must all acknowledge when
Yeah,
it
everybody
comes
not
to
gonna
conscious thought and creating theories that help us get to the next level. Everybody isn't coming.
That's right.
Yeah.
Everybody's not going to subscribe to it. But what you can create is that the concept of common sense comes from the trickle down effect of somebody maybe not knowing the source of something, but knowing what it should look like or be like.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So everybody doesn't necessarily have to have the root, but they can bear some of the fruit. The fruit can be edible. And those of us who are going or we're already there, we have to we have a greater responsibility. And that responsibility is that if I look at you and you're my co-host, I love you. You like family to me. And I have a guest on here. She's feminist. She's strong. And I get it. I love it. Now y'all got a standard. When y'all decide on the man you want to marry and have kids with, he has a certain bar that I'm expecting in my head that he should be like when I meet him.
Right.
Because you have a standard.
Yeah.
Right.
So if I meet him and he just that nigga on the corner that you told me just 3 weeks ago he should do more as a man, then shit, everything goes back to shit.
Let me say something. I agree with the both of y'all, but I definitely agree with you, Paul. Like, a woman does have to the woman has to set the standard for a relationship. And if we don't set the standards, the men gonna feel like they can treat us any way they want to. But if we set a higher standards, then they gonna have to upgrade themselves. But you can't blame the woman because not every woman is taught that.
Yeah.
If you don't grow up in a two-parent household, or if you grow up fatherless, you grow up looking for love from a man.
Yeah.
Or you grow up, you
Trying to
know,
fill that void.
you trying to date a man to fill that void.
I definitely, I'm not faulting women, but I'm trying to get them to understand how great they are from this standpoint.
Yeah.
Y'all are the only sustaining force we've had since slavery. Now, what I mean by that is this. When slavery occurred, you had the Willie Lynch letter and things like that. The only consistent that black people have had throughout their history in America is the woman. The man has been taken out of the home. The man has been incarcerated. The man was given all of these things to destroy himself, be the next great drug dealer or whatever the case may be. The only sustaining force that we've had in our community that resembles anything worth consistency is the woman. With that being said, at the end of the day, if the woman is the only sustaining force, then that means she's the source of it all. Because the man can't tell himself how to be a man in the sense of you have generations where a man has not been present.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it wasn't for my uncles marrying the women who mothered their children, you would have had 3 generations in my family just in the last 70 years with no males available.
Wow.
People meet me now and they in their wildest imagination would never guess he grew up without a father. They wouldn't even comprehend it because there were women and there were uncles and there were men and male role models. Even if my grandmother couldn't raise a man, she had a certain standard just for you to be a decent person.
Right.
And you could figure the rest of it out.
Right.
And a lot of this shit is character issues.
It's just about being a good person.
It's a
in
character,
general.
right?
Yes,
and we can
exactly.
get back to the point where character
Have some
matters.
morals,
You
Lord.
can figure the rest of it
Yeah.
out. Like if you know how to treat a person with some decency, you can figure out,
The
maybe I
golden
should
rule.
protect them. Maybe I should keep them safe. Yo, this was a crazy thing to kind of go off in. I'm going to bring you back for another interview where we just going to discuss, like we're going to do a male versus female. No, we ain't going to say versus because that's another
male
concept.
and female.
Yeah, we're going to do a comprehensive male and female.
That's divisive.
we got to get past that.
Yeah.
But I want to get back to your story, Miss
Okay.
Third Ward.
Miss Third Ward. That's
Mr.
right.
Yeah.
You got it on the money.
Oh
yes.
my God. So Miss Third Ward. So you grew up with both parents. Childhood. What were you involved in coming up, you know? Because you grew up with 2 parents, so I'm
Yeah.
thinking it's a little more disposable income, a little more activities you can do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was involved in everything, literally. I mean, my parents had us in horseback riding, Girl Scouts, dance, piano, violin, et cetera, et cetera. We went all kind of clubs.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents really, from us being very young, I have an older sister. They wanted us to be very well-rounded individuals. They were building young Renaissance women before I even knew what that meant.
Right.
And I consider myself to be that. They wanted us to be able to move from the hood to the suburbs
Walk
to
that
another
line.
country and
Yeah.
back and be fine. And they also wanted us to have options as adults and as young adults. And so I think I was super blessed in that. Also, my parents are extremely pro-Black and Pan-African. So when you asked me earlier, you know, how long I've been woke, I'm like, you know, I was born woke, clearly, because I didn't have an option. I mean, I was watching Roots and reading. No, I'm so
That's
serious.
a hard movie to watch.
No, at 3 and 4 years old.
No, I'm about to say
your parent, like my parents and my grandmother was in the NAACP, which you know the NAACP is different now, but back then and when she was involved, it was one thing. And you know, we were just
I grew up like my uncles,
very well-rounded.
My uncles are not too much older than us, but they were kind of going through their teenage transition while I was a small kid. So the Malcolm X movie, the Black Panthers movie, like I knew I was black before I knew I was anything else.
Oh,
you know
too.
what I mean? And then growing up in New Orleans has a very, very focused concept of being black inside of New Orleans. And that's why when I meet people sometimes and they're like, yo, it's 2017, I can't believe this is going on. I'm like, bro, like I don't know where y'all from or who kind of like brought y'all along, but like the way I was raised, this has been the story for a long time. You know what I mean?
I mean, every book in our house was a black book. Every puzzle that we played with had a queen on it, like Nefertiti. I mean, we had all of that, and my parents, we traveled a lot. Like we went to different countries, went to different states. They took us on civil rights tours. They took us everywhere because my parents wanted us to have an understanding of who we were in the society we were born into from the jump.
So were your parents like your first mentors?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I mean, I love my parents. They're like anybody who knows.
I want to meet him. Now.
Oh my God,
like,
he would love my dad. He
would
love my mom.
I'm scared to meet your pops.
No, my dad is super nice.
Look, let me tell you something about a man, right? Even if
cool.
I came over there as the most platonic friend ever, your dad is still sizing me up in his head.
He's sizing you up.
That's
for sure.
There's something to be said about being a man amongst men. You know what I mean? Like, and I understand that even at 28. So your dad is still sizing me up. He may come off as all nice and how you doing, young man? And
that's gonna be him.
Right. In his head, he's analyzing it all.
Absolutely.
From the manner and my tone, my approach to things. You know what I'm saying? Even the way I address his daughter, like he's looking at it all, and then he makes an assessment. Yeah. Because when you've been married for 30 years and you've raised 2 women and you've loved one for as long as he has, you know what a man should look like in order to sustain it. That's the absence that we miss in our community.
That's the absence.
You get me? So now we just solved our own puzzle. We was talking about something like 10 minutes ago about what black men should be and we can't fault women. The absence we miss is that we should all know where we are at this point. So like now when I choose to marry, I'm looking to marry for the long haul.
Right.
And not only that, but I'm looking to marry my best friend because my kids have to understand interpersonal communication.
That
they have to understand what it looks like even when I don't feel like loving you. Our communication is so strong, people can't see nothing but that.
Come on.
Yep, and they gotta be in it for the long haul because
to be a healthy relationship.
Divorce is so prevalent these days.
It's prevalent because people
don't
are
understand the commitment.
Well,
they're selfish, but they see other options. Like my grandparents been married for like 54 years.
And you know why? You think they didn't see other options? But they still together, right? Because commitment is a habit.
Commitment was important back then.
It still is.
But I also think too, I feel like people are not marrying who they should marry. I feel
they're not marrying for the right reasons.
They're looking to fill a void, or they're marrying the person they have good sex with. I mean, like honestly speaking, they're not really marrying for those reasons.
Or some specific small attribute that doesn't translate to being married.
Wait, they're not marrying for values. They're marrying for things you have in common because it don't matter. We don't have to have nothing in common in terms of what we like to do. But if our values are in sync, we're gonna have a sustaining marriage.
And you know what? They also marrying because it's a trend and they're under pressure. There's social media. They see other people getting married, other people having kids. So they want to get married. They want to have kids.
It's all dangerous.
Without an advisor, like a friend to tell you, like, wait.
It's all dangerous from that aspect of it.
And also, my parents got married older. I didn't even mention that. My mom. So I take that back. My mom has been married twice. So she married before she met my dad. And so she married
she needed
when she
a
was in her
relationship
20s.
to appreciate him.
Right. Well, I think they were like high school sweethearts and da-da-da. I don't know all the details. She didn't really talk about it much.
Of course
but
not.
My dad, when my parents got married, he was 37, and my mom was 34.
Hold up, 37,
so
34 still?
I think that's also something to be said about
working, you heard me?
About parenting and about
maturity.
And about marriages. My parents, they did not get into, not to say that you can't be 20 and mature and have everything together, but I'm saying they were wise.
Yeah.
They took their time. They didn't rush into it. They lived their lives fully, and they were prepared to have children. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a surprise.
Right.
They planned. So I think that's also something that's missing.
It's dope you bring that up. I tell my friends all the time, this is how I know that God isn't prevalent in the black community the way he should be. People reject wisdom. See, one of the biggest issues we have is that everybody think they're starting over or doing it the first time in life, and that's not what's going on. And until your mother's story, your uncle's story, your grandmother's story is relevant to you from the standpoint of to help you make better decisions, then we're going to continue to run in the same cycle. Because what happens is people grow up and they say, well, this is my life, I'm gonna do what I want to do. As long as that's your mentality, the people you're going to bring behind you are going to suffer.
And
because we've been around too long and not having at least some common threads of knowledge that sustain through generations.
And you got to think about, sometimes we don't want to listen to each other.
Yeah.
We don't want to listen to people that look like us, or they not doing no better
people
than us.
that just
we
care
don't
about
wanna,
us.
Yes, or they don't want to take that wisdom from another black person. But if a white person tells them,
well, white is right.
White is
in
right.
society,
We gonna follow
you
what
know.
they say.
But part of the reason why we struggle with listening, when you are what we've been in this country, and your identity has been stripped away from you, you find things to compensate, and we find ourselves overcompensating them. Pride, ego, you know what I'm saying? That selfish mentality.
Yeah.
I'll do for me because ain't nobody else looking out for me. See, when you're not secure and you don't feel safe, it's hard for you to actually extend yourself to be to entertain wise counsel and all of those things, because you're not safe. And when you're not safe, wisdom doesn't sound like a safe bet. Because wisdom normally tells you to have patience, be mature. When you're not safe, you're thinking about survival, a survival mentality. Let me make the best decision in this moment that's going to help me with the greatest satisfaction I can possibly imagine.
And another thing is, we're a very rebellious culture. We've been tied down for so long, and in chains. We want that independence. We want to do our own
but
thing.
not from God, though. You know, and that's
not
the danger of it.
That's the spiritual. That's another thing.
That's
Everybody not spiritually.
You have
there.
to be spiritually
You have to be there.
aware.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Because even when I meet people who say, you know, like I said, I'm a firm believer in Jesus. Yeah, I said it. You know what I'm saying? Because I know the true story behind it. His name is Yeshua, and our Father's name is Yahweh. Anyway, whatever. I meet people all the time who say, you know, I'm spiritual. And I tell people all the time, what are you saying to me? And the reason why I ask them what you're saying to me, because if you don't understand the concept of what you're saying to me, you're in more danger than you know. There's a spiritual realm that exists outside of the physical. In this spiritual realm, it's not only these, good vibes, positive vibes. Nah.
That's energy.
Right, it's energy. And it works both ways. There's a bipolar, you know what I'm saying, two things happening. You know, and the thing about being in the spiritual realm, you're exposed and you're vulnerable because this is not the realm you normally see. We have more of a physical experience than a spiritual one for this moment until we get to where we're going. So whatever's in the spiritual realm is a little more wiser than you, a little more cunning, a little more experienced. And people always say I'm spiritual. Yeah. If you want to call him Satan, bad energy, whatever, he's also spiritual.
Yep.
So is the
He
33.
is a spirit.
Right. So is the 33 who've been kicked out. They also spiritual.
Yeah.
So when you say I'm spiritual, what you're telling me is that you're existing on a plane that you can find yourself vulnerable in and you don't even understand why. And all I'm saying to people is that no, you don't. I believe that Jesus is the King and Savior of the world. And if you don't subscribe to that, that's fine. But you must have a filter in life. You must have a baseline in which all information is gauged through, and you don't move off your value system. You know, almost like in the world, not of it. So you can entertain things without becoming them.
Right.
You can relate to things without identifying with them. Because if you're going to let the wind blow you any kind of way, by the time you want to believe in God, you're going to be too tired to ever run with him. You get what I'm saying? And people say, what you go through make you stronger. Some people are stuck in the trauma stages of what they've been through because they've subscribed to this, all this worldly knowledge foolish. What you go through make you stronger. You ever ran into a broken adult or a child who's been broken masquerading as an adult?
No,
that person isn't stronger. They just been overcompensating, and everything they have is in a vain way because they don't even know what they're fighting against anymore. They just hear. You know what I mean?
Knowledge.
So they
we
just
in
hear.
here spitting knowledge.
I know I shouldn't.
We no longer black in silence.
This is not my interview. So let's get back to the story. So high school life.
Yes.
High school life.
High school was interesting. I went to a high school for health professions.
You wanted to be a doctor?
So here's the thing about that. That's why I said it was interesting. So the middle school I went to actually brought us up to go to either boarding schools or private schools.
Uh-huh.
So long story short, I was initially supposed to go to a boarding school. It didn't work out because I got sick, got diagnosed with an illness, and so had to stay here. Last resort at this point was DeBakey, which is the best school the best public school in the city, or at least at the time it was. So I didn't necessarily want to go down the medical track, but that was the best resort considering my circumstances. And so I went there. It was okay. You know,
was it a predominantly?
It was half Asian, half black, and a little bit in between.
So from there, like, so you didn't want to go in the health profession. What profession did you really want to take on?
Okay, so from a little girl, I always wanted to do a whole lot. Like, a lot. I always like, I want to do this, I want to do that. But it was always like a simultaneous thing. It wasn't like either or. Right. But the predominant job and career I wanted to have was a lawyer.
I wanted to be one too.
I think that has a lot to do with the fact that in terms of professions outside of the little other things I wanted to do in my life, I only saw a doctor and lawyer.
Right.
All right, a lot of times. And so I was like, well, I don't want to be a doctor, and I talk a lot, and I like to debate.
Yeah.
So I must want to go to law school.
That sounds like a law field, right?
Yeah, but you know, as I got older, I learned more about myself and like what I'm passionate about, and obviously there's some things that are still attracting me to that profession, but that was not my path. That's not my purpose.
Being able to relate and not identify with.
Exactly.
I wanted to be a lawyer. I have a cousin who holds the highest seat in New Orleans criminal court. Okay. So in my family, he was like the rich guy, and so I understood it to be two things going on. That because he went to law school and became a judge, he's financially better than all of us. So there must be some equation between being a lawyer and having money in your pocket. And the weird thing, he'll tell you the first year he practiced law, he made like $14,000.
Oh yeah, you don't make a lot.
But
that first year at least.
Oh, so the weird thing about it, when I wanted to be a lawyer, so same kind of relevant story. They're like, yo, you always got something to say, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you should, but
you opinionated.
Right. But when I got in school and kind of seen it for what it was, there were certain aspects of it that stood out to me that I didn't necessarily agree with. And the first one is very childish. I'm not big on suits. I'm not really a suit guy. But that's personal. I could have got over that, you know. But one of the biggest aspects why I didn't further a life in law, I didn't feel like lying. And I didn't feel like always having the character and integrity of what I'm doing always be the source point of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like representing people or dealing with other people's personal matters. And, you know, you have to learn the story to better defend them or consult them. And now I'm responsible for the information. I didn't want to be almost like a public social worker in a sense, you know. So I wanted something more that defined me by my own merit instead of attaching me to people in circumstances that I may not necessarily have control over. You know what I'm saying? So it was I think that's what it was about. It was like I didn't have necessarily control over why these people were in front of me. You know what I'm saying? But I still had a responsibility to defend them in the best of my ability. You know, even if I didn't agree with their actions. You know what I mean?
Well, you can always turn down a case.
You can always turn down a case. But I wanted to go to law school initially to kind of keep all the homies I grew up with out of jail.
Oh, I see.
Until I grew up and realized that you have to be better in order to get better results. You know, I could have the best argument for you in the world, but you're still guilty. And you're guilty of something greater than I understood as a child. Not only are you guilty of the act that people say is illegal, but you're guilty of a wasted potential, of a wasted, like you're helping to set the same things I want to correct in my community. You helping us kind of sustain them.
Right.
So I can't.
So you felt like you were kind of like almost a part of the issue.
Right. I would have been an accomplice
contributing to that.
You know what I'm saying? Their foolishness. And I only call it their foolishness because I separated from the person.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not knocking them for what they do because I know why we came up and how we live. But the act itself is something that we need to start regarding as foolishness. Because you cannot heal and destroy yourself at the same time. It isn't possible. And until we we've been so far down and so far weary that we accept things because it's just better than what we knew it to be. You know, like Lauren, I was listening to her today. She said, "Why black people always be the ones to settle?" Well, shit, when you come from -5 and make it to 1, and you didn't know the standard was 10, 1 sounds like a great place, right?
It's an upgrade to you.
It's an upgrade, but if that upgrade still leaves you in the sewage of it, right? So now it's like the only way to kind of help people realize it's a 10 is to go be a 10.
And I think that's why a lot of black people get so attached to materialistic things.
Yeah, because we
so
didn't have
used to
them.
not having it.
Right.
We feel like
You're
we
from
need
New
it.
Orleans. You
Yeah,
feel
I'm from
me?
New Orleans.
So when you grow up in every
So
majority
I
of the
know
population,
about the Great Divide.
I'm
And I
about
was
to say, people riding bikes. So when you
Yeah.
finally get a car, it don't even matter if it's a Honda. You own.
exactly.
You good.
And I was telling somebody this
What's the Great
yesterday.
Divide?
The first time I seen a Hispanic person was
city.
when I moved to Texas.
New Orleans is-
because New Orleans is only black and white, and
New
it's
Orleans.
Yeah.
such
Oh.
a division there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, inner city New Orleans is black unless you're really, really uptown by Tulane.
Okay.
And then the Asians and those from the Middle East facilitate the commerce in the hoods.
Just like how they do.
Yeah,
But
right.
the Pacific,
But they have other jobs
At
here as
least
well.
about, I'm gonna say 60. I want to say 80% of the city is mostly black.
I mean,
no,
it's a black-
no,
it's a
definitely.
chocolate
Even when
city.
Katrina happened, the biggest problem was that majority of the city was black, and majority of those people were on welfare, so they couldn't help themselves get themselves out of a situation. But majority of white New Orleans doesn't live in New Orleans.
They live in the outskirts.
Right. You may catch them going to the French quarters or coming down to work, but they live in Kenner.
But
They
that's
live
but
in
that's
Peoria.
why any big city.
But
That's
you know
why
what?
that's why the term urban is almost synonymous with black, because most in the huge urban centers are black, and the other people live in the suburbs.
But that's no longer happening.
well, with gentrification,
That's with
it's reversing-
like we
it's
were just talking
reversing
about
that.
gentrification.
Well,
That's
a lot
also
of
a cycle. It's gonna reverse and it's
But
gonna go back.
now,
and
the thing I don't like about gentrification that nobody ever talks about, gentrification was set in motion back during the time of FDR. Gentrification been bound to happen for 100 years, and nobody really knows this story. The government wrote a check, a blank check basically, to white America to create the suburbs, to move out of the cities, build homes, grow schools, and all of these things.
It's around the time when they did the interstates and the
Right,
highways. Yeah.
right, because it was a way to put people back to work. It
Yeah.
was a way to make people. So they wrote a blank check to white America to create the suburbs, right? So let's say your great grandparent got this money to go buy a house in the suburbs. You know what happens when you own homes? Equity. And so one generation comes along, the house is paid off, and they might leverage the equity to get someone else a home, maybe. Who knows? Whatever. But what people are doing with gentrification, they're coming back to the city in these urban areas and purchasing things using the equity from these same homes they grandfathers stayed in that they don't want to live in. You know what I mean? So America kind of created the climate for people, because I've been in the Heights a lot. I've been in West Houston. If people don't understand the term of old money, then you're really not up on what's really going on. I know people who live in lofts, pay $2,100 a month. They don't work because their grandparents have money that's still making money. You get what I'm saying?
Or they're
to you?
also renting all these homes in third ward. A lot of those people don't own them.
Right.
They're rented homes from these people that live in Westview
and a
Riverside
lot
and
of
these
a
other
lot,
places.
a lot of white people. A lot of their parents still take care of them.
Yeah, this lady I'm talking about, she's 45, but her mom is still alive, and her mom is worth millions of dollars. So this lady gets everything delivered to her house. She doesn't leave or whatever. But just the fact that that's an option. Now, for black people, this may be an option in 10 to 15 years, because you do have people who came along after civil rights and got it together.
It's intergenerational.
Yeah, right.
But people don't realize that a lot of people, they associate wealth with paper.
Right.
You have to realize wealth is in that land and those things you
Wait,
own.
wait,
It's in
stop,
real
wait,
estate.
stop.
It's in investments.
Say it for the people in the back. Say that again.
I said people don't realize that wealth is not paper. Wealth is on the land. You know, and that's why when people in
So what is paper?
Paper money.
So what is money?
What do you mean? What is money?
What is money? Because we got to break this down for them so they truly understand.
So okay, so my point in this, things that we use the money to buy the paper money, that has no value.
Freeze. So what you're basically telling me is that money is a medium of exchange.
Absolutely.
So
Because it's not even backed up by anything, really.
America is $1 trillion in credit card debt.
Yeah, they pimping us.
Our economy, that's not currency. In order to have currency,
You have to have
currency
something to
is a
back it up.
sustainable resource. It's something that you can continue to. Money is a medium of exchange. If you have money, you can purchase things of value to generate it, or if you have something of value, you can sell it to but it's just a medium of exchange. Having money,
It's basically bartering.
right.
And you don't even know it.
It's the old bartering system given one common currency. So something everybody can operate with, so people don't show up with 5 bananas saying, "Can I have an orange?" and all of this
It
type
simplifies
of things.
things. You know how much this is worth.
Right.
You know how much $5 means. This
So
and that. But
the
it's
financial literacy of it is that money is a medium of exchange. In other words, what she's saying to you, and what I'm kind of screaming at this moment, what you choose to do with the money in your pocket, it determines the quality of life you're going to have. Money only contributes to creating a reality. It cannot buy you like it can't buy you valuable things as far as the essence you're made of.
Right.
It could just help contribute to your overall surroundings, being safe, being secure, being financially taken care of. In other words, stop putting money, let money make money for you. Like, it's no problem with having money, but money is not the end all be all to life. Because tomorrow, if they woke up and wanted to change what you know to be money to the currency being rocks, they're going to get all the rocks from off the ground for your ass ever get up.
And you too late. You still got the dollar bill and the Andrew Jackson
and they're
going to
give them out as they choose to see fit.
Right.
And you still broke.
Right.
So in other words, utilize money to help you generate money or land and ownership.
And black people, stop selling your houses.
Stop selling our land,
and
man.
stop selling your land.
After slavery
when
ended,
you own it, keep it. The whole
I
reason
think 100,000 acres they sold after slavery.
I mean, listen to this. Like, the whole reason people even came, Europeans, let me specify. Europeans even came. European. I like that.
You're a pain in my ass.
Right. So the whole reason they even came to the Americas is because they wanted land.
Land, labor, capital.
Okay, so I'm telling you, when they pushing Native Americans off for all these years, including 2017, what are they pushing them off for? The land. And so it blows my mind when I see people in third ward selling their houses, selling their
For
land
money because they think they're getting rich.
Because they can, and so they can go move to the suburbs.
Yep.
And here's the problem with that too. You don't realize that when you leave the inner city, you also leave your voting power.
Yep.
Because if you want to affect change and you believe that voting is not the end all be all, absolutely not. But if you believe in some sort of political system that's based on voting, which some people do, some people don't. Now that you've left and moved into the suburbs, you think you have a say-so in the inner city? You don't even get to vote for that anymore. And so it's like you upgrade and you leave in the hood and you do all these things, but you're not doing anything
to be honest, you're not upgrading because by the time you sell them that land, you come back in 6 months, it's going to be worth 10 times more.
Worth more, and guess who's going to have their hands on it?
So in other words,
because you could have rented that out to a black family who needed it.
We need to start seeing the value in where we are in life.
Real estate is the key.
Real estate
yeah,
is the key.
Speaking of real estate, while we on the subject, man, this whole discussion been dope. It transitioned from something that it wasn't
right.
even.
I ain't got much to say.
I'm glad about the flow. Like, I'm cool with the flow, but not only is real estate the goal and the key, but keep this in mind. We have an enemy that most people never identify with. Like, we don't even know what they look like because they're so far removed from the day-to-day world that we live in. Your mind is the new real estate. See, when you own the world, when you own all banks, when you own that sense of currency we speak of, you no longer are interested in owning buildings. Like, that sound cool, that's cute, ha ha ha. We own 32 NFL teams. What the hell we care about a building? They're concerned with owning the human mentality, the mind. Because as long as they can purchase and plant a flag on your brain about what you should be and what you should be doing, they're always going to control you anyway.
Right.
So what's the point of us having to go buy 50 buildings when you're never going to even be interested in buying a building? They're always going to be available, but everything you do have, you're still giving it to us.
Yeah.
So make sure that you know that your mind is also the new real estate. And if anybody going to grow something, plan something, or be present on that type of real estate, make sure it's you first. You and God. You know what I mean?
Be aware of that too. Be aware of, like, if you gotta detach yourself in some sort of way from technology, because that's a whole other issue. I can't even get into that. But
wait, before we get done with this interview, what do you do in your day life? Like, we didn't even touch on your day job.
I wanted to go from her transition from high school. What college did you go to?
We're gonna have to split our interview up into 2 sections. But I see what you just did. But go ahead. What college did you attend?
What? You made me lose. Forgot what school I went to. Lord have mercy. I went to the University of Houston.
Yeah, what did you study there?
I was a history major, dance minor, a business minor, and I was in the pre-law program.
And what are you doing now?
All of those things, basically.
Yeah.
So I'm a historian, I'm a professor, I teach, I'm a dancer, I'm a henna artist, I'm a writer, I'm an editor, I'm an entrepreneur.
Are you working on anything with the history point?
And you mean as far as like a daytime job or like my own business?
No, like any project that you're working on.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, first of all, I believe in history. I'm all about Black history. I mean, and Black history is global history from the beginning and all of that, everything in between. So I think my major goal, and because I was brought up as a historian, like my whole family loved history, but my major goal is making it tangible and using it to uplift Black people. Definitely. Right. So it's
using
so
it as a medium of exchange.
Yeah, because there's no reason that let me just segue real quick because I'm bringing back. There's one thing that really drives me crazy is the people that walk around. Right. Absolutely. I'm never in silence. You gotta be sleepy if I'm sleep talking. But look, what drives me crazy is people who hold knowledge and do nothing with it. So there's no point you walking around, oh yeah, you didn't know that, sister? Oh brother, let me tell you, what you gonna do with it? You just gonna run your mouth, or you gonna do something and you're gonna apply it? So my thing is, I use my information and my knowledge, apply it and share it
to simplify, she's saying that we should make the knowledge tangible.
Yeah, so tangible. So I teach. I'm a middle school teacher. I do adjunct. I'm a professor. I write about history. I incorporate it into all the articles I do. I'm working on a documentary and I'm working on a nonprofit for history.
So you're really that Renaissance woman at the
end. Baby, I'm a Renaissance woman.
Yo, this has been a very dope interview. I enjoyed it. We gotta have
definitely did. We definitely went deep into the
conversation. We touched on some points, man.
We did.
You know, it's crazy because we didn't really even get into too much of her personal story.
But the good thing was we was no longer Black in silence. We touched on issues in our community, which was important, and we spit knowledge.
That's right.
Yo,
that's what we did.
Yo, this has been entertaining to say the least. I enjoyed it. I actually just met her, so this is all new to me. This is probably going to continue like off of the podcast. You know what I'm saying? We might have to record a video to get it to y'all because it's gonna go there. You know what I'm saying? Especially with them two telling me what a man's supposed to be.
Well,
you know, but I truly thank you for no longer being Black in silence. I thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. You know,
thank y'all. It's been a pleasure.
We're so glad to have you.
So I'm your host, Lion Talk P,
and I'm your co-host, Shadana Cheney.
And this is no longer Black in silence. You did.
Now we're gonna get into our voice in history. Today we honor Toni Morrison, who is a Nobel Peace Prize winning novelist, editor, and professor. She was born on February 18 in 1931 in Lorain, Ohio. Her novels are known for their epic themes, exquisite language, richly detailed African American characters who are central to their narratives. Her best-known novels are The Bluest Eye, Sula, and Song of Solomon. Morrison graduated from Howard University in 1953 with a degree in English and a minor in classics. She has a master's degree from Cornell University and moved to Texas after obtaining her master's degree to become a professor at the one and only Texas Southern University. Morrison has earned a plethora of book world accolades and honorary degrees, also receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2012. So today, let's celebrate Toni Morrison.